The folks at NACEDA, you can think of us as a bee that goes from flower to flower, this garden, and picks up some pollen, transports it to another flower, takes some pollen from that flower, takes it to another place, and just kind of, it's called cross-pollination. So that's what I feel like we do. And so each one of these trips, I pick up a story from a previous trip, share it with folks, and I think people value that. They listen to that. They really have their attention when I talk about something someone said in Alabama.
So today we're going on a journey to Oakland, California to visit the East Bay housing organizations. We're going to hop on a plane out of Dulles, and we're going to go all the way across the country.
San Francisco, Oakland, the East Bay area is going to have a really interesting story to tell about their history around community development, where they're going as an urban center that is progressive. It's West Coast, but has kind of old and new. Well, we're going to go see Natalia Badamarco. She is the Director for National Initiatives and Community Development for Citibank, and she happens to be here in San Francisco while we're here.
The commitment that Citi had to pull up its sleeves and put investment and put its expertise and put its commitment into community development, and recognizing that community development is not a short-term activity. You have to be in it for the long term. So you have to have the patience, you have to look for the patient capital, and you have to look for the human capital to really turn things around. And I am amazed at neighborhoods that I see now in New York that are really quite vibrant, that understood gentrification and what it meant to low-income people, and how to really come up with a mixed, balanced neighborhood with good and decent housing, with a vibrant commercial strip, with a good school, with a good healthcare center. And that really was what excited me about coming to Citi.
So, here we are at Madison and 14th.
I've had this kind of life goal since I was very young of combining my passion for social justice with the built environment. Because I love cities, I love architecture, I love buildings, I love how buildings are built, and that's just always motivated me. You know, it's just so many different things go into one of these development projects, but then when it's done and you see what kind of impact this housing has on people's lives, you know, it's always worth it. It's always worth it.
And so this is brand new construction, right? This was a parking lot. That's what we heard.
Yes,
Before.
it was, yeah.
You just literally just built it.
Yes.
Do you have underground, parking underground?
It's a parking
Deep
lift.
down, about
so
2 layers.
Two layers
okay.
can go down.
So on a sunny day, does this heat water, or how do you
That's
it heat?
for the electric.
For electric. Okay, swell. Great view and everything.
Yeah. Ceiling to floor windows.
We get people walking all the time and they're looking for apartments, and then we tell them it's affordable, and they're like, oh, really?
Well, the first time I met you, I think it was the board meeting after I got hired, because you were on the board at the time.
Yeah.
Of the Asian Community Development Corporation in Boston. And
how long was your ponytail? Just kind of demonstrate.
I guess the question is, was that before or after the mustache? It's probably, what, a year later or 2 years later that
What's the snickering for?
it was like a year or 2 years, I think, when you joined the staff. Our audience is not just our residents, it's the neighbors. Right? It's like, what do the neighbors perceive as the need that is being addressed or fulfilled by a Balti having a presence there. I mean, and that's partially aspirational. I mean, the aspiration is that people say, hey, wow, we'd really love to get in a Balti property in here. But that's because it's not just our clients, right? It's who our audience is, and that's who our work is oriented to as well.
Satellite is a nonprofit affordable housing provider that for 45 years has served the East Bay area of the San Francisco Bay Area, serving primarily seniors and people with disabilities. Over the course of our history, we've developed and now operate 26 housing communities throughout the Bay Area. So this property is called Helios Corner. This is 80 units of affordable senior housing. Kind of interesting story. So this was a site originally owned by the Salvation Army.
Oh yeah?
And they had, when was this? I guess 2001, 2002, had planned to sell off several of their assets, including this site, which was almost all paved parking lot in a small commercial building over here where they did a food pantry and some social services. They really just were not utilizing the space and were kind of looking at reevaluating their assets. So they put it up for sale. It was during a very hot market, a very good site. We bid on it. We're outbid by several market rate developers. There was enough affinity and mission, and then also
the Salvation Army.
Yeah, right. And then an arrangement we worked out where, and we offered to build them a new, smaller space in the building where they could continue their food pantry. They sold it to us below market. They have a commercial space on that side, and it's been a great addition to Berkeley.
We are driving up Broadway right now in downtown, or I guess uptown, Oakland. It's the main thoroughfare, and we are headed for Valdez Plaza, which is a senior rental housing development operated by Satellite Housing. Today we're going to be observing the town hall meeting. I think they have these about once a month, and it shows how the number of services and the amount of attention that the staff gives to the residents, and you'll also see how engaged the residents are. Tons of them show up for these meetings, and it's a place for them to air all sorts of issues or questions that they may have, and then of course for the management staff to sort of tell them what's going on, especially since the building's in the midst of a rehab, to just sort of bring it up to date and make it a lot more green and sustainable.
It's really exciting to see you guys here after seeing many of you in the Capitol in Sacramento fighting for affordable housing.
係啦，咁呢位就係莊小姐啦，大家都好熟悉啦。咁佢首先咧就係好多謝大家有參與過呢一個。Say Sacramento. 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 Yeah.
This was the first project that I took from construction all the way through completion of construction. We completed this building in 2008, so it's in its third year of operation now. And consists of basically about 20,000 square feet of clinic for the Native American Health Center, and 36 below market rate apartments, which are upstairs. I think this is called the talking circle, and it's sort of traditionally when they talk about healing, healing is also not just sort of the physical healing, it's also being able to sit and face other people in your community and just talk with them and just talk out what is happening. So this was a really important part of the design for them, as was this whole courtyard.
EBHO was founded in 1984 by affordable housing developers and grassroots community activists and tenant rights activists who wanted to come together and address the needs. How do you build more support for affordable housing? How do you help communities understand the needs and the solutions around affordable housing, and with all the issues and concerns that are out there and the complexities around the issue? And so people started meeting, and that's how EBHO came about. It became more formalized in an organization and incorporated in the mid-90s, and it started out focusing on Oakland mostly. It was Oakland housing organizations, and then it expanded to all of Alameda County, and then a few years later to all of Contra Costa County as well. So it moved from being OHO to EBHO, so East Bay Housing Organizations. I did my undergraduate thesis on the relationship between community development and community organizing, and building building neighborhood movements among low-income communities and communities of color, which was my focus. And that really launched what I then wanted to do. I wanted to do community organizing at a community development organization working in low-income communities and communities of color. And at the time, in the early 90s, this was a really heated conversation within the CDC world. This was one of the first kind of waves of the question, are we an industry or are we a movement? So my grand conclusion at age, whatever I was, 20 something, was that in order to really have a true impact in dealing with the true problems of poverty and housing in this country, we needed to get back to movement roots, and we needed to impact and engage broader sectors of people to really see that kind of change. Otherwise, we'd be marginal developers of affordable housing.
What I was just struck by is how engaged the board of EBHO is in this, how they engage with each other, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Amy Fishman, the executive director, sees her role as a community organizer.